How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be talking about the month of October in terms of UFC fights. Some other YouTubers have talked about this. Lucas Tracy brought up how October has a really stacked showing of cards, and I thought I would discuss it as well, because when I dove into it a little bit, as you know, I have slides for every event that has been announced so far, and I can kind of gather what's being added to it. October is really good, from what I can see. Firstly, there are no Apex events. Like I said, there are no Apex events from now until the month of November. November is the first month since, well, August now, to have an Apex event. I believe it's going to be November 1st, if I'm not mistaken. UFC Vegas 110 that has one fight added to it. So, yeah, no Apex events in September or October. September looks pretty good as well. I could have added that into this video, but it's a lot of work. September, if you don't know, main events. Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Diego Lopez, John Silva, Perth, Dominic Reyes versus... You get the whole spiel. But in all seriousness, looking at these main events and just what they look like on paper what they look like from October 4th all the way to October 25th, 4 straight weeks of arenas, 2 pay-per-views, and 2 fight nights in crowded arenas, 1 in Rio de Janeiro and 1 in Vancouver, Canada. Ankalaev Pereira 2, hopefully it's a bit more entertaining than their first bout that they had. From what we've seen and from what we can gather, Alex is probably going to be more aggressive, which will most likely lead to a finish, whether it's him or Ankh getting knocked out. And then the co-main event there, which we will discuss later. Charles Oliveira getting right back in there quicker than Ilia Topuria against Rafael Fiziev. I think technically the return, like the amount of days, I don't even think it's like 100. I think he's getting back in there very, very early, honestly, for getting brutally knocked out June 28th. De Ridder versus Hernandez just got announced a couple days ago. That's a badass fight on a pretty stacked Vancouver card, I will be honest with you. And then, of course, October 25th, the second pay-per-view in the month, UFC 321, getting rounded out with Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. All these main events, from Ankh, Pereira, Oliveira, Fiziev, De Ridder, Hernandez, Aspinall, Gane, most of these are very interesting matchups, especially a De Ridder, Hernandez, and an Oliveira, Fiziev. Aspinall, Gane is probably the least hyped for main event, because I think a lot of people know what's going to happen in this fight. I believe Tom Aspinall will just beat Cyril Gane. Ankalaev Pereira 2 is somewhat interesting, because if Pereira goes in there with a different fight style, not just leg kicking at range, allowing Ankalaev to get the better in the boxing, what he will be able to do in a fight like that. But Oliveira, Fiziev, De Ridder, Hernandez, these are all fucking great main events. And the undercards for these events are also pretty fucking good. I have 5 bouts listed for 320, Rio, and Vancouver. 321 is a little bit slim. It only has 7 fights added right now. So I only added 3, and then the 4th box is a rumored fight. Same with Rio, one of the boxes is a rumor. 320, though, co-main event, Merab versus Corey Sandhagen. Lovely fight. Again, it's just Merab being active. And also, it is a new opponent for Merab Dvalishvili, so maybe Corey is the solution. I don't think he is, I'll be honest. I love Corey Sandhagen, but it will be interesting to see how Corey Sandhagen deals with the overall pressure of Merab Dvalishvili, because I think in terms of contenders that have fought Merab as of recent, Umar and Sean O'Malley included, mostly Sean O'Malley, because this will be another tall, rangy opponent for Merab. I think I think Corey has better takedown defense than Sean O'Malley, and he has a bit of a better jiu-jitsu understanding and ability to manipulate positions like that. It will be interesting. Probably going to go 5 rounds, let's be honest. Merab he finished Sean, but I don't know if he'll be able to finish Corey. You know what I mean? Maybe Aljo will teach him to get the back and stuff like that, but not teach him, but, show him how to get Corey's back. The striking, obviously, Merab way in or way out. Corey trying to catch him with something up the middle. That's mostly what this fight's going to be. I really find it interesting. Featured fight, Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. This is a badass fight. And also criminally interesting. Yuri is so wild and he has his hands so low. The thing is, I don't think Khalil is that good. I don't, but I can so see him chinning Yuri in this fight. Khalil hits hard. He does, and he chews up legs, and Yuri, for the love of God, just does not know how to check a low kick whatsoever. He's a very wide-stanced fellow, and I could see Khalil really damaging the legs. But then again, I've seen Khalil get outstruck by Marcin Prachniow. So, what the fuck do we know as MMA fans? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that Yuri can knock out Khalil. I think Khalil can knock out Yuri. I think Khalil, has more weapons in a fight against Yuri Prochazka. I think he's got more kicking ability than Yuri. But I think that the durability will also take a point, to step forward in a fight like this. Just the sheer durability of both guys and what they're able to walk through and deploy onto others. You know what I mean? Yuri will walk through a lot. Unless you're Alex Bahia, and then you get chinned immediately. But Khalil, I don't know. We'll see how the size also looks in a fight like that. Another fight on UFC 320, Josh Emmett versus Yusuf Zalal. This was announced on Saturday. This was announced on last night's broadcast. Josh Emmett versus Yusuf Zalal. Be honest with you, not too geeked for this fight. I think that a lot of it is going to be Yusuf Zalal on the back foot, being able to outstrike Josh Emmett, keeping him on his toes, kind of keeping him wary, because Josh Emmett, he pressures, but he does it in such a weird way where he will take a lot of time to mount up pressure, built up, push you back, and then he'll throw one big right overhand and then just allow you to exit and then lose all the space that he just gained. It makes no sense to me. Yusuf Zalal looked really good against Calvin Kattar outside of the third round, obviously, but Josh Emmett slows down a bit quicker than Calvin Kattar does. And he wears damage very well. So does Calvin, to be fair. But I think Yusuf Zalal, I think he's annoying to predict because he's such a weird fighter. He's got a really weird and unorthodox style. But he's got really good up the middle antics, which is something that I could see working well on Josh Emmett, like a knee up the middle when he ducks down to maybe try and throw a hook. You know what I mean? So maybe Yusuf Zalal is able to put some more damage on him. I think this fight will be a bit boring, though. I will be honest. This is probably my least favorite fight on the big name wise on this entire card. Abus Magomedov, Joe Pyfer, interesting. Abus and Joe, very big athletes. I think Joe Pyfer has a bit better cardio than Abus Magomedov, and he hits harder with the hands, at least. Yeah, I don't know. Abus is a bit of he's a bit of a weird guy. This guy. Abus, really good front kicks up the middle. It'll probably end in a finish. That's what it most likely will. Whether it's Joe Pyfer absolutely CTE societying Abus Magomedov, walking him down, beating him to the body, and throwing a big old meaty overhand. Maybe Abus has the power to finally set down a guy like Joe Pyfer, though. Who knows? Because he's got a good jab, and that's all Jack Hermanson needed to beat him. So, and then the fifth fight I have on here, even though it's not a big name, Ateba Gaultier versus Ozzy Diaz. Just Ateba Gaultier, just a highlight reel for him in the waiting. So Ateba Gaultier, will see him win another fight. So that's cool. And also it's Ozzy Diaz. So it'll be fun to see his hairline get knocked out again. UFC Rio has some decent fights on there as well. Right now, the second biggest fight that's official is Davison Figueiredo versus Montel Jackson. Very interesting because Davison Figueiredo destroyed his knee in May, and I wonder how he'll deal with a guy like Montel Jackson, who's a very tall bantamweight who hits extremely hard. It is interesting, though, because Davison has shown to have really good fucking power. He dropped Piotr Jan. He's dropped Chito Vera. He's dropped a lot of people. He dropped fucking Pantoja down at flyweight. You dropped Moreno. He's dropped a lot of people. He's got really good power, really aggressive and explosive when he wants to be, essentially. He's got good grappling as well, which is something that we saw trouble Montel Jackson a little bit against, what's his face? Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos was able to use the clinch a little bit, stink it up a little bit. Maybe Davidson's able to do something similar against Montel Jackson, but this is a really big move up for Montel Jackson. This is a very, huge step up in competition for him. And also, it's a showcase fight for him. This is probably a lot of people's introduction to Montel Jackson, to, the casual fan base, because a lot of people are going to watch his card because Charles is in the main event against Fiziev, who, looks like fucking Ragnar Lothbrok. So this will probably be a lot of people's first introduction to Montel Jackson if they're a casual viewer. So this will be a big moment for him. Another fight on here, Vicente Luque versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Two old heads, even though Luque is only 33. Two old heads just battling it out. Probably a Luque win, which is always good to see. We always love seeing Vicente Luque win. Another rumor, I should have probably put this at the bottom or above this, but Carlos Prates, of course, won 319. He called out for a fight on UFC Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, and it seems like he'll probably get that. Now, it depends on the opponent that they'll feed him or give to him, if it's really up the rankings or if it's lower in the rankings. It just really depends on the scheduling. I doubt they'll give him Leon Edwards that quick. I think Leon Edwards and Michael Morales are pretty locked in to have a fight with each other. You could give Carlos Prates a little bit of a lower ranked guy, maybe Daniel Rodriguez. Maybe Daniel Rodriguez has taken short notice fights before. Maybe he's the guy that accepts the challenge against Carlos Prates in Rio. Kind of just a fight ranked welterweights. You know what I mean? It's also in Brazil. So something, Carlos Prates will more than likely be on this card. That is just what I want to throw out there. Next fight, Jafel Filo versus Clayton Carpenter. Two flyweights. Should be very entertaining. Clayton Carpenter, last time out, fought Tagir Lembekov, 311. I'm pretty sure, I don't think he's had a fight since then. Jafel Filo last fought Alan Nascimento. So should be a grappler's delight. And on the feet, I think it's really interesting because Jafel Filo has really good body shots and Clayton Carpenter's got decent boxing. So I think it'll be an interesting bout. Heavyweight, Jonata Diniz versus Mario Pinto. A knockout. Two prospects fighting each other. Undefeated Mario Pinto versus Jonata Diniz, who used to be undefeated. Coming off a good win over Alvin Hines, who was on steroids, apparently, which kind of sucks because he got cut after that. It'll be interesting. It'll show how good Mario Pinto is. It's a big step up from Austin Lane, if I'm being honest with you. To Jonata Diniz, it'll probably be a striking fight, rather. Excuse me. So it'll be interesting. UFC Vancouver, actually pretty stacked of a card for Canada. Of course, main event, DeRitter Hernandez. Co-main event, as of right now, is Chito Vera versus Amin Zahabi. Interesting fight. Chito versus Amin. Amin, of course, beating Jose Aldo at 315. Chito Vera hasn't fought in, it seems like, forever. I think his last fight was Davison Figueiredo at Abu Dhabi last year, which is over a year ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, can Chito set back an upcoming, I don't even want to say upcoming contender because Zahabi's fucking 37, but a prospect, if you will, in Amin Zahabi, who hasn't lost in a while, who's coming off, some decent wins. So it'll be interesting if Chito can fluke it again with some big gnarly kick or a big gnarly overhand, which maybe he does because Jose was able to drop Amin Zahabi. But Amin Zahabi, maybe he's able to out-grapple Chito. I think it'll be an interesting matchup on fight week, at least. Next fight, Kevin Holland getting back in there against Mike Malott. Interesting. Mike Malott coming off a really gnarly KO over Charles Radke. Kevin Holland coming off the Daniel Rodriguez loss. After getting almost chinned in that fight, he's making a relatively quick turnaround for that. Interesting. Mike Malott's got decent kickboxing. Kevin Holland's going to be a way, way longer and rangier than him in this fight, though. Mike Malott's got T-Rex arms. It'll be interesting to see how Mike Malott deals with the range. And we've seen him lose to tall, lankier guys before and Neil Magny, so let's see what happens. Next fight, Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. actually an interesting WMMA fight. Jasmine's been pretty violent in her last couple of performances. Manon Fior coming off a really close fight with Valentina Shevchenko. I see Manon winning this, I'll be honest with you. I think it'll be interesting to see if she'll be able to stuff the takedowns, because Jasmine is probably the biggest girl she will fight. But Jasmine's old, so on the striking, it should be pretty clearly Manon Fior. But she's a junkyard dog, I tell you. Other fight, Bruno Silva versus Hyun Sung Park. Hyun Sung Park got absolutely demolished by Tetsuro Taira. Bruno Silva kind of on a downfall. Should be a cool fight. We saw Hyun Sung Park. He was just too early for a Tetsuro Taira fight. You know, it's just too early for him. Other fight, Azamat Bekaev versus Yusri Belgari. Yusri, of course, world-renowned kickboxer, trains with Alex Bahia. Azamat Bekaev, probably one of the most entertaining middleweight prospects that we have. UFC 321, pretty solid card. I'll just show the 3 fights. Alexander Volkov, Jailton Almeida, badass number 1 contender heavyweight fight. Rakic versus Mirzakhanov, badass light heavyweight scrap. Mirzakhanov, one of the most touted prospects, I guess we've seen at light heavyweight in some time. Undefeated, knockout machine. Rakic is somehow just still sitting in the top 6, even though he hasn't won in fucking forever. His last one might legit be Anthony Smith or Devin Clark, something like that. I don't know. Mirzakhanov, brutal win over Brennison Ribeiro in June. So, should be interesting. Ikram Jung Park, probably one of my favorite unranked fights on this entire screen. Jung Park, Iron Turtle, really good pressure, really good grappling ability. Ikram Aliskerov, outside of Robert Whittaker, he's been pretty flawless inside the UFC octagon. So, it's cool to see. And also, just so you know, Umar Nurmagomedov is rumored to be on UFC 321. I imagine it's going to be the Mario Batista matchup that was originally supposed to happen at Vancouver, but then they moved it to UFC 321. Probably won't be 5 rounds, but very, very interesting nonetheless. All these fights are pretty fucking scrappy. I'll be honest with you, I like a lot of them. There are some that I think are a bit worse than others. Josh Emmett, Yusuf Zalal, for example, is a fight that I don't think will be all that good. I will be honest with you. I think that'll be a bit boring. All in all, we're eating good, fellas. We're eating good. If you look at these, oh shit, it's gonna take a while to get. Look at the main events: UFC 320, Ankalaev Bahia, Merab Corey Sandhagen, Yuri versus Khalil, Emmett versus Zalal, Magomedov versus Pfeiffer. That's a badass main card. UFC Rio, free fight night on ESPN Plus. Main event, Charles Oliveira, Rafael Fiziev, Davison Figueiredo, Montel Jackson, Vicente Luque, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Carlos Prates versus somebody. It'll most likely be Daniel Rodriguez, if I'm being honest with you. I think that's actually a matchup that is pretty viable. And then some other unranked fights, Jafel Filo, Clayton Carpenter, and then Jonathan Deniz, Mario Pinto. UFC Vancouver, DeRitter versus Hernandez, one of the most badass main events of the year, I will be honest with you. Accompanied by Cheeto versus Zahabi, Holland, Malott, Fior, Jasmine Jasudavicius, and then some other fights on there. Bruno Silva, Hyun Sung Park, Azamat Bekaev, Yusri Belgari. And that's actually of the fight cards, Vancouver's pretty stacked, and it still has room for more. I think Vancouver only has 9 fights added to it. So there's probably going to be 3 more fights added to that, which are probably going to be pretty decent, I will be honest with you. UFC 321, in its infancy, I will be honest, only 7 fights added to it. Umar will most likely be on there, but then 3 other official fights. Tom Aspinall gone. Volkov versus Jailton Almeida, number 1 contender fight at heavyweight. This will be who fights for the title next when Aspinall beats Gane. Rakic, Azamat Mirzakhanov, and then Ikram versus Jung Park. So we are eating good. We're eating pretty fucking good in the month of October. I like a lot of those fights that I just listed, and there's more. There's other decent fights on there as well. So, yeah. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Leave a comment down below. What are your guys' thoughts on the month of October? What are your thoughts on the cards that I've just gone over? UFC 320 to UFC 321 Vancouver and Rio as well. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.